Do I look washed out with the lighting?
Nope.
Oh,
No,
we're
and we're
live.
live.
Good.
Hello, everyone. This is Katrina
Hello,
and
everyone.
Tom. Park Right Here podcast, officially episode 1. So we're sitting here talking about our Parkinson's journey. I have young onset, and Tom is kind of in between. He's a
I'm a
tweenster,
tweener.
a tweener. That's what it is. Kind of in. If you're over the age of 60, that's kind of the stereotypical Parkinson's, and then young onset is before that. I was about 42 when I was diagnosed about 12 years ago. So,
56.
uh, I'm 54 now, I think. Yeah,
No, I was
50.
56.
So,
You can
yeah,
tell this
that
isn't
well,
rehearsed.
okay. So I'd still say you were young onset, but
I'm
officially,
going with tweener.
okay. So today we don't really have a topic per se. I know there were a couple questions that I did receive on Facebook. One was about anxiety, another one was about mental health in general affecting Parkinson's. I see we got 3 people in so far. So we're doing really good. So if you have any questions at all you got to do is post to the comments and we can see them here on StreamYard. So, do you want to talk about your experience with anxiety or mental health issues at all with Parkinson's, Tom?
Sure. Well, I jokingly tell people if you want to write a book about mental health, I can fill the first 3 chapters. But well, like most people, I guess what I didn't understand when I was first diagnosed is the chemical impact that Parkinson's had or the lack of dopamine had on your brain. And initially, I didn't realize I was kind of like semi-depressed. I just thought it was the work and everything else. And I was fortunate enough to have a good primary care physician who kind of said, "Tom, I think you have mild depression, and I want you to start taking this. I take Lexapro." And so the way and I'm like, well, I don't want to take Lexapro. John Wayne, Clint Eastwood, they don't take Lexapro. They're men, and men don't take Lexapro. So he finally convinced me that I should take Lexapro. So I started that. Sometimes people ask me if it helps or not, and it's difficult because once you've been doing something for a while, it's hard to really know if it's helping or not helping because you're just sort of in status quo. Uh, but I think at this point, for me, the way I deal with things is once I can understand them, I can manage them, and once I can manage them, then they just become part of me. And so, in a sense, I'm like, I feel like I can absorb the information, process it, and then I don't have to worry about it as much. When you mentioned anxiety, I think in the beginning there was a little anxiety, and to me, I define anxiety as feeling overwhelmed at a given moment, where you can't feel like you can't control the situation, or there's too much coming to you at this point, and it's just hard so I came up with something I call this funny because I this is where I think I can fill a book on mental therapies, but I, I I think I like to think of things and I like to attach concepts to ideas. And for me, if you can do that, I think it makes it more readily understandable. So I can't remember what I did yesterday, but I can remember in 1970 watching Magnum PI with Tom Selleck. And there's a scene where he's trying to break into or steal one of Higgins' cars. And I hope you guys know who Tom Selleck and Magnum, otherwise, this isn't going to make any sense. But Tom's trying to steal the car, and Higgins, who runs the area, if you will, releases the hounds, and you can just hear them barking. And Tom Selleck is saying, "Work the lock, work the lock. Don't listen to the dogs. Work the lock." And then he stops for a second. Damn, I looked at the dogs, and he starts to stress a little bit. And then he works the lock. He gets into the car, closes the car, and everything is fine. And that's to me how I picture anxiety: is you're sitting there and there's a situation that you can't control affecting you. And if you just let that situation run on its own course, you're going to be suffering from anxiety. But now, if you can work the lock and open the door, then you get in, close the door, and you're fine. Then you move on to the next issue. So that's kind of the way I look at it, at anxiety.
Well, right now we've we have a listener right now who definitely
Yeah,
agrees with
and
you.
what and her second comment, I think we need to discuss that.
Yeah, it is. Well, of course, you've got the motor symptoms and the non-motor symptoms, and I was a nurse for 20 years, and I was not expecting the non-motor symptoms. I
Right.
only thought Parkinson's was about shuffling feet and about, shaking, tremors. And I don't even have tremors most of the time. I have the dyskinesia and I have some dystonia. And it was really weird with the cognitive, the memory issues, and depression and anxiety are the top
Mhm.
two non-motor symptoms of Parkinson's, which at least, what did they say, 80 to 85%? I say 100% of people, at least when they're diagnosed, are going to have anxiety over the diagnosis itself, much less. I was talking to somebody um, just over Facebook last night who said that they were diagnosed bipolar, for like 10 or 20 years before. And I know I had a neurologist tell me a lot of times bipolar or depression or anxiety will be diagnosed 10 to 20 years before the physical symptoms of Parkinson's. And by the time your physical symptoms manifest, you've lost 70 to 80% of all the dopamine that you have.
Right.
So a lot of times the mental stuff will start way before the physical stuff because dopamine, along with serotonin and norepinephrine, are your top three emotion whatever what are called neurotransmitters or chemicals in your brain that affect emotions and mental health. So depression, anxiety, I mean, I don't want people to feel like a stigma at all. It's part of the process. It's part of, you know, getting mental health help is just as important as getting a good movement disorder specialist. It's part of the care team, that I
Mhm.
know we talked about last time. You've got to have, uh, you got to have your care team, which is your movement disorder special. Well, I'll say your care partner would be your first. And then under that is your movement disorder specialist. And then you've got, under that umbrella, you've got physical therapy, you've got occupational therapy, speech therapy, whichever level that you're on, whether you're at the beginning or you're at the latter stages of
Well, you
Parkinson's.
missed one important person, your bartender. Don't forget your bartender on that list. 'Cause he
Yes,
can be
that's a
very
very,
helpful at
very,
times. But
that's,
so all that Katrina has the medical knowledge because of her back. I just like this is something I know it's very simple. I just scribbled it out for those who can see it. It says manage and not manage. By the way,
yes,
Parkinson's makes your handwriting look like crap. So the way I look
yes,
at life is I put the things I can manage in this box, and the things
what
I
you can
can't manage I
control
put over here.
and what you
And
can't
then what I
control.
do, yeah, and then but when I look at the ones I can't manage, I ask myself, can I outsource them to somewhere? And just the
Mhm.
two examples I've always used is like going grocery shopping and maybe doing yard work. You can hire a landscaper if possible, or you can have the grocery store come to you. So that's like
Yeah.
if for whatever reason you can't physically do those. So then you can take those things that you cannot manage, but you can outsource, and you put them in the other box. And it takes your
Mhm.
world from this big world of everything down to a smaller world that then you focus on that world. And for me, that helps me stay focused. That helps me stay in control of what I need to do.
Oh yeah, and I agree with our listener. I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher your name, but I'll say Miss Owen. And but yeah,
Our
good
new
support
friend.
system for sure. And I mean, that support system is also, your family, your friends, your coworkers, and also, any spiritual support that you need, any, friendship support, but it's also mental health support, social support if you need, and medication, pharmacy. You've got, I mean, because there's over 100 medications just for Parkinson's alone. I mean, and your
Oh my
medication
God, yeah.
needs could, yeah, because I mean that could be a
And
whole podcast series on its own as medication, because that can change at different times. It's changed for me. You can start off with not taking, just doing it by exercise and that in the beginning, and being on, and where I started on Cinemet, now I'm on Rytari, and where that was reduced after I have had the DBS surgery, deep brain stimulation. Had that in 2021, and Tom hasn't. Tom's not quite as far as me. I've had it for
oh
12
no,
years,
baby,
and
I'm not even no. Don't say DBS to me. Yeah. I fear if I get denied it exists, then it will never happen to me. So, uh,
But we both met Davis Finney, who runs the Davis Finney Foundation, which we're both ambassadors for. And I should have, well, yeah, I wore mine last time. I said, should I wear mine? No, I didn't want to wear the same shirt for two podcasts in a row. So oh, I almost wore the one that we had for September, the conference, the ones that they had us they had us buy, but I didn't wear that one. So
Oh crap! That was weird.
yeah, what did you glitch?
So both, no, so both of the screens where I see you and me went black, and then they started shh, and then you came back to
Oh,
me. I can still hear your voice. See, this is the beautiful thing of live television, if you will. Things happen, and you know what? You saw how calm I am. I didn't get stressed.
mhm,
I
no,
processed it. I waited, moved on, and here it is. Um, something Katrina said about medication, which I like a lot because when I was first diagnosed, I started with the way I kind of equivalent to is if you go to the doctor and you have a sore back, he may say take Tylenol. And if it gets a little bit worse, he may say take this drug. And then he slowly increases the prescription, if you will, to deal with these symptoms. So I'm currently taking I do take a cholesterol tablet, but I take 6 medications per day, all directly related to Parkinson's. And for me, I'm mostly tremor dominant. I have tremor based Parkinson's, so most of my medications are designed for the tremors. But I found one thing when you talk about the brain chemistry. I've never been an overly emotional person. I'm not a touchy feely kind of person. But I found that I was crying a lot, and at all point, I mean, I would just think about something and I would start to cry. And then I'm fortunate enough that where I go to my doctor, there is a psychiatrist who is in the next room to my neurologist. And she works with the Parkinson's patients. And she put me on something called, and I'm going to mangle the name. I'll just look it up again. It is phonetically lamotrigine. Is that right, Katrina? Does
it's
that sound familiar?
Lamictal or Lamotrigine.
Lamotrigine, that's
Lamotrigine,
it.
that's the
And
brand
that's
name,
like a
or
mood
Lamictal
enhancer.
or Lamictal.
So what was interesting with that is I Googled it and I saw that was for people like schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. And I'm like, whoa, wait, I'm not either one of those. So
The
I
mood
sent that to the
disorder.
psychiatrist who prescribed it, and her response was wonderful. She said, well, I give you such a small amount that I even feel comfortable giving it to pregnant women. So of course, because I can fill the first 3 chapters of that book on abnormal psychology, my response to her was, thank you very much. And should I become pregnant, I know I can continue taking the medication. And I could just see her going, shaking her head when she read it. But in one point, for me, the way I deal with Parkinson's is I try to find humor in life. I don't know if I made up the expression or if I stole it from somebody, but you can choose to be happy or you can choose to be miserable. Either
Oh,
one's a choice.
mhm.
And I choose
Well,
happiness.
looks like she said too. She said we would, like when you were saying about the glitch. She said we. She said this guy is hilarious.
Oh, wait,
She says,
just for the record, someone once said, I thought you were just a guy that had bad jokes and that you weren't deep. And I said to him, I said, no, I am as deep as you can get. And I don't do jokes, I do humor. There is a difference. A joke is, it's like a man slips on a banana peel. That's a joke. A, a humor is, I like to find things in life that I can make a connection, a funny connection, and try to put the two things together. So for my friend out there, I'm going to give you one real bad one that I made up a while back. There you go, slapped your head. I was, uh, I was at a Dunkin' Donuts and I was getting a cup of coffee. It occurred to me, what's the difference between someone at Dunkin' Donuts who gives you a cup of coffee and a barista at Starbucks? And so I said, you can let them think about that for me. I said, well, the barista at Starbucks has a master's degree in European history from 1832 to 1847 and $150,000 in student debt. Uh, so that was the way I like to put those two things together. But uh, I do like humor, and it helps me a lot.
"Oh, sorry, I mistyped that one." Oh my goodness, I was saying me too. I like the way you find humor in things. I really do. I just have to make fun of you.
Well, I've been
Yeah,
married
and
for
my
34 years, and every anniversary I give my wife a flower, her chocolate, a kiss, a card, and say I haven't changed. Just a reminder
well,
for
my
the upcoming year, I haven't changed.
yeah, my 16-year-old daughter actually got to meet Tom in September, and she thought he was hilarious too, because just
Well,
the way he found humor in things. That's what you have to do. It's if you can't find humor in life, what's I mean, kind of, or happiness when you look outside, because I'm in the Appalachian part of Virginia. If you can't find the beauty outside, I went for a walk with my daughter today, and we were looking at the leaves are changing and all of that. If you can't find the beauty in life, it's like, what's the point? And it's hard sometimes. And that's one
right.
thing I was glad that I was able to take my I really embarrassed my daughter this week though, because I guess I posted our last week's run through. Hey, oh, we got another
Hey,
walkthrough. um, I posted it on a Richlands local page. I didn't mean to. It was by accident. Another group, and her chemistry teacher saw it and mentioned it to her in class. Oh my goodness gracious! My daughter's 16, so yeah,
oh yeah,
she's like, but she was proud. She said because I mentioned her, so I hopefully her teacher gets to see it again. I guess so. I'm like, oh my goodness. But she said I'd never realized that my daughter had never seen anybody with Parkinson's before except me. And then when she got to see other people, she realized that I wasn't as bad as she thought, and she said that I was her inspiration because she saw
oh
people who
cool.
had only been diagnosed for like a couple of years and who were, much farther along than I was, because, when you're older and you get it, it's much more rapidly, and it goes much more rapidly. Young onset technically usually is much more slower progressing. And also, I fight this thing. I just really, really do,
Yeah,
because my daughter was like 5 years old when I was first diagnosed, and I want to be there for her. And I have a 29-year-old as well, so they almost had like two different mothers, which is kind of strange,
hmm,
but is what it is. So now she says she's going to focus on what I can do and not on what I can't do. And we've actually been a lot closer ever since Minneapolis. She's planning our next trip for Christmas, either Pigeon Forge, or we're not sure where we're going to go. So,
yeah. 'Cause you made
so
a great point there about your daughter, because Parkinson's doesn't affect just me. It affects my
mhm,
wife, it affects my children, it affects my friends.
mhm.
There's
Oh,
more of an
goodness.
impact than just the individual.
Hmm.
And I
Yep.
remember when I was kind of so I was diagnosed I started having my symptoms in August of 2015. And when it was officially somewhat diagnosed as Parkinson's, at that point, my mom was the only one in my family that knew I had Parkinson's. So they're in the Chicago area. So we made an opportunity. I was going to fly out there, and she was going to put together like a family dinner on Sunday, and that's when I was going to break the news to everybody. But because I'm an idiot, and yes, capital I, idiot, I just changed one of my medications. I was taking Ropinol. I was taking 6 milligrams, three 2 milligram tablets a day. And so she wanted to up it to 8 milligrams. So I assumed, being like an idiot, I assumed that was four 2 milligram tablets a day. And when I got my refill, it was actually 8 milligrams. So for like 4 days, I was taking, instead of 8 milligrams, I was taking 32 milligrams. And it all caught up with me that Sunday when I was at my mom's. I had to go to the hospital, and they brought my family in. I said, guys, this isn't what I wanted to tell you, but I wasn't expecting to tell you from a hospital bed, but I was diagnosed with Parkinson's. But when the doctor came in and asked me what was going on, it occurred to me at that point, that's when I took the medication incorrectly. And so I looked at him somewhat calmly and said, well, what's the half-life on that medication? He goes, well, what do you mean? I said, well, if I took 32 milligrams, yesterday, and it's a 8-hour half-life, then I got 16, then 8, then 4, then 2. And he said, I go, how do you know that? I said, well, because, I got Parkinson's, and I want to make sure that I'm educated. And I guess the part is, I think everyone sort of has to have that. How can I put this without being? I think if you're not willing to advocate for yourself, and you're not willing to, take care of your own and do your own research, I think you lose the right then to just to bitch about it. And oh, by the way, that's asterisk, 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 axis. So I don't want to say the word on the radio. Uh, But to me, I'm a strong advocate, and I read quite a bit, and I want to be able to go in when I sit down with my doctor or my friends, and they say, "What is Parkinson's?" Or more importantly, when a newly diagnosed person gets sent our way, I want to have a conversation with them and give them the information that helps them come to terms in a sense with what they have and how to best deal with it.
Yeah, and of course, disclaimer, we're neither one of us are medical professionals. I'm no longer a licensed nurse. I had to medically retire. But yeah, I consider Parkinson's one a snowflake disease because no two patients have the same symptoms. I mean, it doesn't matter. All over the world, there's 8 million people affected that are diagnosed with
Yeah, they say
Parkinson's
over a million in the
worldwide.
U.S.
Um, and of course, that means like what 50 million are affected by it with family, friends,
Mhm.
coworkers, and worldwide. And it's just, I mean, it's second to also, it's catching up with Alzheimer's in my opinion. But and then number two, it's a DIY disease more than half the time because like where I am in Appalachia, in Virginia, I call it the armpit of West Virginia, that little skinny part of Virginia. It's uh we have no resources whatsoever. We don't even have a neurologist. The closest neurologist is an hour south in Bristol. So, and with DBS, I have to go to Charlottesville to University of Virginia Medical Center. So that's a 4-hour drive every 3 months or so, and
4 hours each
which is
way.
fine. Yeah, each way. And so, but luckily they have a hospitality house. It's only $10 a night. So we stay overnight so we don't have to,
Oh, cool.
as my husband, we don't have to go, you know, um, what he calls turn and burn, you know, go
Yeah.
around trip. So we just, $10 a night, you can't beat it. So, and it's comfortable and it's nice. And usually it's just us. And so we, they know us very well by now. And, um, but I mean, we don't even, I mean, so there's no exercise programs. There's nothing. I mean, I was so, I miss what I had in Colorado. We lived in Colorado Springs when my husband was active duty military. So, oh, yeah. Yes. So Kingsport, Bristol, that's where everything is. So, I'm reading our comments over here. Yeah, you have to be proactive for yourself because if you have to be educated as well. And one good
Yes.
resource, which I wish I had right now, well, actually, I could go get, is the Davis Finney Every Victory Counts book that you can get for free. You can either get it by ebook off of the website for Davis Finney Foundation, or you can get the physical book. I mean, it's about yay thick, and there's also a separate book for the caregivers. That's a really good place to start. And there's also one, it's called Parkinson's for Dummies. I have that one too. But it's a,
That's my
really,
Bible.
yeah, we call Every Victory Counts the Bible for Parkinson's. I mean, it's got everything. It's got stories from people with Parkinson's and caregivers, but it's got everything that you can think of from, about protein, how any kind of protein affects the absorption of levodopa. So how you need to take any kind of levodopa medication around your meals, um, to anything you can think, to all the medications, to exercise, to whatever you can think of. So you need to keep yourself educated. A lot of times you're going to, especially like you said in Kingsport or Bristol, you're going to be more educated a lot of times than the doctors, even the neurologist. You're going to be more educated on Parkinson's. I've noticed because my second cousin was diagnosed with the more stereotypical Parkinson's, and I have to help him out a lot because he's not as educated. And so I go with him to his appointments, and I finally got him to Roanoke. I'm trying to get him to go to Charlottesville, but he thinks that's too long of a drive. So at least I got him to Roanoke, and it is a much better facility. And doctors, they're still not as familiar with Parkinson's, but as long as I go with him, I feel more comfortable. But yeah, as long as
So
you
when
stay
she
educated.
mentioned
Yeah.
You mentioned the Davis Finney Every Victory Counts. So I don't like to type because I do have some fine skill issues with my hand. But if
Yeah.
you Google Davis Finney Foundation, and this is the first page that you should get. You just 1 second. You go down the page, and you'll see Davis on the bike, and then you keep going a little bit more. You see, where does it say? Keep going. You see Every Victory Count manual. Okay, there you go. As you pay. Oops. God, you gotta love live TV. Uh, so you go down to you see this Every Victory Counts, and then if you go a little bit further down, there's a way that you can. It says click here to order your copy. I personally prefer the digital copy because the or the hardback copy, if you will, is like this thick and probably weighs about 5 pounds. It's good to have your like coffee table book, but to take it around with you and to me, I have downloaded the PDF, the book in the PDF form, and if I'm talking to somebody about a particular subject, I can use my favorite Control F feature and put in Control F and just put in the search word, and it takes me right to that search word. So I'm a big proponent of the electronic version. It just works better for me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Me and our listener both live in the
Oh,
same
looks like
county.
you got people living near each other.
We're in the same county, which Tazewell County is a large county, but I don't want to specifically, I'll have to, I'll connect with you and I'll after the podcast because I don't want to like specifically. Well, like I think it's already on Facebook anyway, but I'm in Richland, so if you know where that is, then you know where I am. So I won't say any more specifically than that on the World Wide Web, but yeah,
www.
I will. I don't want to butcher her name, Miss Owen, so I'll keep it to Miss Owen. Oh, she's in Richlands. Small world,
What's your favorite?
girlfriend.
What's your favorite grocery store? Maybe the two of you have passed each other with shopping carts.
Food City.
Uh,
Well, there's only Food City, Food Lion, or Grants, and yeah,
hmm.
Grants is more of the just the basic, like the basic foods. If you and my daughter's a vegetarian, as you probably remember, and so I have to go to the or Walmart. Of course, there's of course Walmart, but Walmart or Food City because they have more vegetarian options. But Food City's got better, fresher veggies and fruits and produce.
When we talk about being a self-advocate, there's also I got to
Oh
put
yeah,
there's some concern about that as well because there's so much information on the internet. There's so much, I call it noise. There's so many different topics, and you got to be careful what you read and make sure, like claims that someone has cured their Parkinson's. I wish I knew about that claim because I would jump right on that myself. I tend to try to stay with names, if you will, that I know. Like if I'm going to read some research, I want to read it from the National Institute of Health, NIH, the Mayo Clinic, the Cleveland Clinic, University of Maryland, those type of, well-known universities that what you're reading is probably going to be vetted, and it's just not going to be one person's opinion on how Parkinson's he affected them or didn't affect them. There's one going on Facebook right now that's got these two kids. They look like they're in their 20s, and they're talking about a cure for Parkinson's. Like, first of all, no kid in their 20s knows anything about Parkinson's. And if you click it, it just redirects you to some other stuff that's really not a waste of your time. I joke with some people too that I say I have a PhD in any subject from the University of YouTube. But again, I like to read a lot. I like to inform myself, but I also want to make sure that I'm going to legitimate sources to get my information from, because
oh
there
yeah.
is so much noise out there.
I'd say Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, Michael J. Fox, Davis Finney, Parkinson's Foundation.
Yeah,
I'll put those in the. I'll post them right now, and
APDA,
I'll let you talk.
like it's not.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
ADPA.
So, with me is as you may have guessed, I'm at ease talking with people, and I'm sort of a type A personality. So it's easier for me to go out and meet somebody and start a conversation with them. But ironically, what I try not to do is I don't want to, I got to put this. I don't want to wear Parkinson's on my sleeve in a sense that, everywhere I go, I'm somebody with Parkinson's. Because I want to make sure that for me, I want to have that life separate. I don't want to be known as the guy with Parkinson's. Like I started playing pickleball now. I play 3 times a week, 2 hours a day. And I don't want to be the guy with playing pickleball with Parkinson's, because I don't want anyone to think that they have to treat me differently. And some people say, well, let them know. And, but again, I want to go there to play pickleball. I don't want to go there to discuss Parkinson's and how it's affecting me today, because my symptoms are predominantly muscle fatigue and rigidity. So I'm always like right now, I'm always moving, because I like to keep my body moving. It helps with keeping the muscles and everything. So, one of the things that we talk about too is, I think, very important that I'm going to try to highlight on every call we make is I call it the 4 pillars. That's 4. That's 5. That's 4. The first is, which we've alluded to, is you got to have a great doctor. And I drive 2.5 hours to see my neurologist. Katrina drives 4 hours. I used to live in the Baltimore area, so it was originally a 20-minute drive for me. Then I moved out to Delaware. And by the way, beautiful 78 degrees in Delaware today. I spent 2 hours at the ocean, just sitting there, just soaking it all in. It was so great. But so the closest, like the one neurologist in my area that gets a lot of reviews is 2.5 hours away from me, because I'm in the bottom of Delaware. He's in the top of Delaware. So I just keep driving to Baltimore twice a year to see my neurologist, because I've developed a relationship with him. And the way I look at doctors or any person that I'm dealing with, physical therapists, whatever, they sort of have to pass a 2-pronged test for me. One is, are they good at what they do? And I want to make sure that they're good. You can find that information by researching them online. But more importantly, do I have the sense that they are putting my best interests in front of whatever their own interest is? My doctors have to be my friends. Like my primary care, I've known him for, probably 30 years before I moved out here. And I remember his name was Greg, and, calling him up one day, say, Greg, I got bad news for you. I'm leaving you for another man. I got a local doctor down here. And he was very supportive of that. I've known my neurologist since I was diagnosed. And, the first time I met him, he said something. He's going through the checklist. You grow up on a farm, you drink well water, you do this. And then he said to me, do you ever fall into a vat of acid? And immediately, without hesitation, I said, well, no, but as a teenager, I was bitten by a radioactive spider, and now I got this crazy spider sense. And he looked at me and said, why did you say that? And I said, well, why'd you ask me if I fell into a vat of acid? I'm doc. This is the money, So he was just saying, I'm checking to see if you're listening. Well, obviously I was, and you were listening as well, because you picked up on the Peter Parker. But that, for me, at that moment, I knew this was the doctor I wanted to go to, because I loved the way he just responded back, and he played it back and forth. So my thing is finding a great neurologist or most movement disorder specialist. If there's none in the area, hopefully you can find a great neurologist, or find somebody that you can that you can work with. The other thing is, you've got to start an exercise program. They don't know what causes Parkinson's. They don't know how to slow it down. They don't know how to cure it yet. But what they do know that is high intensity exercise, at least 30 minutes a day, if not longer. 30 minutes to an hour, 3 times a week, will help slow down the progression. Maybe it's because when you exercise, the release of dopamines. But, so I play pickleball 3 times a week, 2 hours a day. I try to ride my bike every day. I do yoga every morning. I love stretching. God, I love stretching. And so I try to stay active. And, I remember in the beginning when I started yoga, we used to go to the YMCA where I lived, and there was like 100 people in the yoga class. There was like 3 men. That's 3. That's 3 men. That's 10. That's 3. And so I finished my yoga class one day, and the lady came up to me and said, I just want to let you know you're such an inspiration. I'm like, excuse me? She goes, what? You're so inspiring, men like you taking yoga, showing that it's okay. I'm thinking, I'm not trying to start a movement with men in yoga. I have Parkinson's. I'm just trying to stretch my body out. But that was the most weirdest thing. But the other, so you got great neurologists, great exercise program. Ideally, you've got to try to eat healthier. There's so many menus out there, or so many recipes. If you follow the Mediterranean diet, I don't think you'll find any doctor who says a Mediterranean diet's bad for you. And then
Oh,
lastly, a great support group. Nice thing about support groups, and this is kind of like we are right now, is you can be like when I go to my support group meetings, everyone there knows me. Everyone knows I have Parkinson's. I know them. I know they have Parkinson's. It's a safe place to go to. You're not going to be judged. No one's going to say, "Oh, you have this," and it's just a safe place to be. And I like to say, I said, mentioned, I like humor. I like to see. I'm like a lightning rod for stupidity. If I can do something to make somebody laugh for that short period of time, they don't have Parkinson's. They're enjoying whatever reason they're enjoying that time. So those are the things that I try to tell people. Great neurologists, exercise, eat differently, and great support group. And a lot of times I know these things are easier said than done. I do have one soapbox issue that I do always jump on my soapbox for this one is when it comes to exercise. There's an expression you hear a lot saying any exercise is good exercise. Well, in theory, yes, any exercise is better than doing no exercise. The reality is, if you take your wife or your sibling or your spouse or anybody and you take a walk around the block, all you've done is taken a walk around the block. It's better than sitting on the couch. But as it applies to slowing the progression of the disease, that's not going to do anything for you. You've got to find whether it's jogging, running, treadmill, cycling, dancing, martial arts, whatever you got to find something that you like to do and you can do. And a lot of these things are easier said than done, but you have to put a focus on in the sense that you have to look at yourself as you're the most important person in the world. And you've got to find things that work around you got to try to find things that work for you. And if you need to try to, I hate to use the word manipulate, but you got to try to work the system to get what's best for you. And that's part of being an advocate for yourself.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to do here in my community because we have nada, zippo, zilch. I mean,
Yeah.
nothing. So I'm starting from scratch. And, I hope
I
that
would
my
just put
friend
up.
here, Miss Owen, starting this and then hopefully I'm hoping in November that the support group is going to be up and running. We've got the venue. So now we just have to get more people involved. I would like the community to run it and me just to kind of oversee kind of with Davis Finney's help and
Mhm.
and then also I'm working on the YMCA and getting somebody from PT to get some exercise classes going. And also our venue, which is my church, has a pickleball court. So we're also getting a pickleball. Yeah, he's having trouble getting anybody from the church that wants to play pickleball. I said, well, we'll get the Parkinson's community. And I'm reaching
Sure.
out to the home. I mean, I have to because the not everybody's connected to the internet here in Appalachia, so I have to kind of do the footwork. I have flyers at the post office and the library, and grocery stores and that kind of thing. So I have to go and do footwork to find people, and I have a table set up for this Saturday, I believe it is. There's a fall festival in town and I have a Davis Finney table set up.
Oh,
Oh, I
cool.
go to Gethsemane Baptist Church over by between Roses and one of the many, many Dollar Generals that are around. I don't know if you guys have as many Dollar Generals up north, Tom's in Delaware.
We have Dollar
So,
General. I can't
yeah.
find anything there for $1, but it's Dollar General.
Oh, we have, yeah. You can give directions by take a right at this Dollar General, take a left at this. I think
Well,
there's like
it's funny that you say that because I live in Bethany Beach, and if you picture the ocean, I tell people you go 4 miles west, you see the Dollar
excuse
General
me.
on the left, you make a right there, and you go into my neighborhood. But someone
Mhm.
asked about Strive
Yes.
PD. I just downloaded it. Oops, you can't see it here. But Strive PD is, let's see, this is like, I'll just put this here. You can read it. It's basically an app that helps you, track your symptoms, and then you can use those to communicate with your doctor. But it's the word Strive, STRIVE PD,
Mhm.
one word. So just Google Strive PD. Uh, there are a lot of hospitals that work in conjunction with it. So there's like an interface between the two. My doctor and his university isn't a participant, so I just use the app myself. But for me, if tracking things are important, because I was talking to Katrina earlier and I asked her, how do you cook a lobster? You put the live lobster in the pot of water, you bring it to a boil, and before you know it, he's done and you're eating. It's kind of like your symptoms. If you don't pay attention to them, they're just going to get to the point where you're done. And so one of the most important things I think is you should do, and I do, is when I have an appointment with my doctor, my neurologist, about 3 business days before, I get on his portal and I send him, I type out a little bit, doc, these are the things I want to talk about when I come in on Thursday at 10:30. I only get 30. I'm lucky I get 30 plus minutes. They're very patient centric there. And I get 35, sometimes 45 minutes. But when I walk in that room, we're on the clock. I want to start talking. Doc, this, and because now he knows what I want to discuss. He has an opportunity to look at that. So we sit down, we're ready to go. And I just went there last month and we were talking about one of the medications I take is ropinol. And he wants to slightly wean me off the ropinol. It does have some negative side effects, one of which is compulsive behavior. So we were talking, I said, Doc, I agree with you because recently I had some issues of compulsive behavior and I thought it could be related to the medication. He said, well, what happened? I said, well, I went to the store and I bought 3 pairs of khakis. He goes, that's it? I said, that's it. He goes, why even bother to ask? Because I feel comfortable when we talk. It's like I'm going to see my friend Joe as opposed to my neurologist, Dr. Sabbath. And to me, that's extremely important. I know everything's important, but that great relationship with your doctor is really, really important. And it's sad that there's not more movement disorder specialists out there.
Oh yeah. It's like even though I'm not close, physically I have to drive 4 hours. University of Virginia Medical Center, even though it's 4 hours away in Charlottesville, I get on what is it? My chart, which they University of Virginia Medical Center uses. He gets back to me.
I use my chart as well.
Yeah, within 24 hours, he always messages me back, and I keep him up to date on my any changes in my symptoms or so he's ready. Or if I need to go to the DBS clinic, which they actually have a DBS clinic at the movement disorder every week, and so that's on a Tuesday, and he tries to. Am I boring you, Tom? Tom missed his nap today.
No. See, you're not boring me. One of the issues with Parkinson's is lack of sleep.
Fatigue.
I wake up every morning at 5:15. Yeah, I just wake up at 5, and I'm just so exhausted.
Yeah, I think I woke up like 3 or 4 times last night as well. So and yeah, I usually take a nap in the middle of the day as well. So usually about this time.
Well, I haven't got to that point yet. I just take a nap when you're talking.
That's why I remember when I asked Everett, because I actually started Park Right Here podcast, which my my friend, my new friend from town, she said she needs a nap too.
I'm being abused. Anyway. We gotta kick her off. I'm being abused.
No, you're outnumbered. He should be used to that.
I'm always outnumbered.
That's true. But I remember when because I started the podcast during the pandemic, and my son came up with the name Park Right Here, and it was just me on audio. That's all it was for. I think I did 5 episodes, and pretty much I was just almost reciting Davis Finney and then putting my own spin or my own story in between, saying my own experience and explaining what Parkinson's is. And that's pretty much what the 5 episodes were. And because there was so much misinformation, like he was saying.
Hey, not to interrupt you real quick.
Sure. What? What are you? Oh, are you
I
talking
think I'm
about
running into some
the?
technical difficulties. For the people out
Oh,
there,
okay.
did you see your screen go black, or was I on all the time? Can someone, because something both where I see you and you see me, there,
Hmm.
my screen just went black and then it came back on. That's the second time it's happened.
Oh, it's a,
Technical
oh,
difficulties.
oh, okay. No, actually, you stayed on. You kind of
Oh, good.
froze a little
Okay.
bit. You froze a little bit, but I stayed up and running. So I don't know. You'll have to. I don't know if it was a router issue, Tom, or did you freeze again?
See, I wasn't frozen. I was just acting like I was frozen right there.
I knew. You're so silly. But I remember when I was asking Everett because I didn't want to do this by my. I did. I, I wanted to relaunch the podcast because there's not a lot of like personal journeys kind of thing. It was all even on YouTube. I'm going to try to get this on YouTube as well because we do have there is a Park Right Here podcast channel. It has no videos on it yet, but I do want to, now that we have video, I want to get us up and running because I want to start reviewing things. I want to put maybe a couple of dance things on there. I don't know what I want. I mean, I would like to, but we'll see how my confidence is going to do. And but I might,
You know what?
want to try to review some things with Tom. But I remember asking Everett, I said, who do you think I would, knowing me, through our interview and through a couple of Zoom calls, who do you think I would do better with or, get along with? And first person he said was Tom. So, and he's right. I'm kind of the
Because
more serious, the more medical person,
mhm.
and I'm the straight person, and Tom is the goofy one.
Yeah, which is not to take away from the fact that I'm serious, but it's just my way of approaching life. Because, like you said, Edward's right. Everybody needs a little Tom Cosentino in their life. If they get just a little bit, then I mean, life is so much better with just a little Tom Cosentino. Someone asked me once, "Do you ever doubt yourself?" And I said,
Mhm.
like every minute of every day. But the
Oh, yeah.
fact is, I'm not allowing those doubts. I'm not allowing my Parkinson's to impact who I am, if at all possible. When it does for me, I look at it in the sense that if I'm having a bad tremor day and I can't do something about it, then that for that moment of time, Parkinson's has won. But it's a battle with me. It's every 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a battle. And part of my battle is trying to be outgoing, trying to find humor in life. And I spend a couple hours probably every day reading on various articles in reference to Parkinson's. Um, I actually diagnosed my neighbor. This is kind of funny. So last December, we have the house next to us sold, and new guys came in, and I noticed he had a little tremor in his hand. And after I got to know him a little bit, and I saw the tremor continuing, I said, Paul, I don't mean to warn you, but I think you may have Parkinson's. I recognize that tremor, and I told him about my Parkinson's. And I said, you should. He goes, well, it gets worse when it's stress. I think it's stress related. I said, well, the fact is, Parkinson's gets worse with stress. So that is, to me, also underlines that it's probably Parkinson's. But I said, you should go see a neurologist. There's a couple I know in the area that are not movement disorders, but they're good neurologists. And the guy said, what are they going to do? I said, well, you're going to go there. He's going to ask you questions, ask you to do things like this, all that observational stuff. And he may want a CAT scan. He may want an MRI. He may want to do x-rays, blood work, and possibly a DAT scan. Say no to the DAT scan because it's really expensive. But then, so a couple of days later, he knocks on my door and he says, I said, hey, Paul, he hands me $20. I said, what's this way? He goes, this is my co-payment because you did exactly what the doctor did. I gave him $20. I feel like I need to give you $20. But there's a part of me that really hates the fact that I know that much about Parkinson's that I can diagnose somebody. And it's really part of me that just doesn't like having those conversations with newly diagnosed people because at the end of the day, the good news is there's programs like this available for people, whether it's us or somebody else, that you can get good information. It's not a disease that is not researchable. It's still really that They refer to carbidopa levodopa as the gold standard of medication. It's over 50 years old. You know, and I like to tell people in the 1970s, Richard Nixon took us off the gold as president. Can someone please take us off the carbidopa levodopa gold standard and replace it with something else? And I think part of all of this is with all the research that's being done and has been done, the millions, if not billions of dollars being funneled, we still don't know what this is and how to fix it. And to me, that's where I get on my soapbox. That's where I get angry. Uh, I a while back I had the opportunity to speak to our state congressperson and state senator in D.C. and we spoke to their staff. And the idea was to tell them a little bit about who we are and give them a personal story about who we are so they can make a connection. And so what I did was, let me pull this up if I can show you this. I I waited to the end because I wanted everyone else to have an opportunity. And then I said to each staff, I said, what I want to do is I'll give you a quick 30-second overview of who I am, but I want to leave you with something, and I'll email this to your office if you give me your email address. For people that hear about what's called deep brain stimulation, Katrina mentioned it. This is a X-ray of a skull that had DBS, and if you see on the top, you can see on the top. I guess where I gotta do. Let's see how does this work. Okay, let's try this. Up here, you can see those. That's the staples, right? And then there's all those wires being, wrapped around on the top of your head, and you can see the little spike. I'm gonna call it a spike, going down into the center of the brain. And then if you look closely on the back of the head, you can see the wires going back down around the head and they ultimately go down the spine into your chest, where they have what the equivalent of, I call a pacemaker implanted. And this is actually sending electrical signals to your brain to sort of counteract the results of the Parkinson's. But what I told them is, I want you to print this picture out. And anytime someone says to you in Congress that we're not going to fund more Parkinson's research, just pull that piece of paper out of your purse or your briefcase and say, this is what DBS is. Are you going to tell me right now that you're not going to fund something that will change this for people? That's where I get upset. And prior to that meeting, I came up with what I thought was something funny, and I presented it to the people first to see if I can get away with it. And it was funny. They said, no, Tom, we want them to like us. We don't want them. So the joke kind of went as a congressman and his staffer were going to a Parkinson's support group meeting. This particular congressman didn't endorse more federal spending for medical research, but this was a large constituency, so he felt like he had to go. So as he gets there, he opens the door, looks inside, turns to his staffer and says, I think it's okay. They're all waving to us. There you go. There's a smile, all waving to us. So to me, what made that joke funny was the fact that they interpreted this as waving, which shows that they know nothing about the disease. I was told I couldn't say that, but they thought it was funny. But the hour, or actually we've been on for a little more than almost an hour. I know I got to jump off in a few minutes as well. So any last minute questions somebody would want to throw out there in the chat? All two or three people we have listening, it looks like.
Well, actually, there's been people that have come in and out. My little lady that I'm going to meet, and I just friended her on Facebook. Yeah, and cool. She has a question. But yeah, we need to
have a question.
Yeah. Let's see what carbidopa. Yeah, we need more. We still need a cure. I know right now. I know Michael J. Fox Foundation has found a biomarker. Let's see, supplements. Oh, they want to talk about that. Oh, does marijuana help with tremors? I can say that it does because of my that I know that's a touchy one, and it is legal in Virginia for recreation. And I think next year it goes up for sales or something like that. It'll, there'll be state-run dispensaries and all of that. But I can from experience with my cousin, it doesn't work for me because I don't tremor, but I have seen he'll smoke with my husband. And it does help him. I mean, I will watch as soon as he starts smoking, it'll like reduce his tremors immediately. So, I mean, it's kind of that you have to talk to your
I
doctor.
can't say if marijuana has any impact on my. I can't say if marijuana has any impact on my Parkinson's because the last time I smoked it, I was like 25, and I had no tremors then. So I don't know if that's a direct relationship. But I did talk to my doctor about medical marijuana and perspective. There's still too much not known about how it impacts your body. And for me, he said, I don't think you're really a candidate for it. I said, I agree with you there. I'm just more wondering, what are your thoughts on medical marijuana? And he said, I really wish we had more. There's not a lot of studies done on the subject. He told me it's kind of hard to have a sort of a blind study with marijuana, I guess.
Right.
What do they do? Give you like oregano,
yeah,
the
I think you're
smoke.
yeah.
But that I can't really. So I cannot address that.
I've seen it, but I would definitely talk. Yeah, you glitched a little bit. I think you're frozen. Are you frozen? Yeah. But I can say Miss Owen.
Yeah,
There you go.
Oh, there we go.
You're
Am I
coming
back?
now. Yeah, you're back. You're back from the frozen land of Cosentino.
One of the symptoms of Parkinson's is they say you have like frozen face because your face doesn't.
Oh, yeah, the mask-like face syndrome.
Sometimes when we're in meetings and I see an older person that they're like, I want to have somebody poke them, like, is he asleep or is he frozen or is it the Parkinson's? Because it's like there.
Yeah, mask-like face. I call it resting Parkinson's face. That's been one of my. She said, I thought he was pranking again. No, I think his internet has run out of speed. So I will round
There I
this
go
up
again.
Yeah, he's freezing again. I did friend you on Facebook, Miss Owen. So we will get together definitely. I will actually bring you I have a few books from Davis Finney. So I will bring you one. Since you're in town, we'll exchange addresses and all that. So anyway, it's been great, everybody. Park Right Here podcast will be on every Thursday, 2:00 Eastern time.
I wasn't pretending.
You weren't pranking us. You weren't pranking. So every Thursday, 2:00. I'm gonna post this on all my pages again. So or all my groups again.
2 p.m.
So so everybody can watch. I'm also gonna try
now,
to
if
get
you can hear me, my page is unresponsive.
Okay, this has been great. I did accept Katrina. Thank you. It was very informative. So thank you. We have a fan.
Up to 4 people now.
Yeah.
Which is exciting.
Okay, somebody tried CBD.
I'm going to drop is that if you know anybody with Parkinson's, anyone out there, if you know anybody with Parkinson's, ask them to join us next Friday or next Thursday at 2:00. Because as much as we enjoy talking to a small group, my goal and Katrina's goal is we want to like reach the world.
Yeah.
Get the word out. All right.
That's why
I think this is a good time to say goodbye.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Okay, you did this, didn't you?
Yep. Do you get
it? So last thing of the day, which comedian / TV personality used to do this at the end of the show?
We'll see how we'll test our age. Yep. So
come
anyway,
on, folks. If you're over 50, you should know this.
Have a great week, everybody, and we will see you.
We'll talk about that next week. All right, next Thursday, 2:00. Be there or be square. Bye.
As my daughter would say. Take care.